to self-report his concussion-like symptoms, he knew the outcome. Thus, imagine how severe the symptoms could have been for him to self-report. This is not self-reporting a cough. You know what I mean? This isn't, hey, trainer, let me get some Robitussin.
Right.
This is, hey, I might need to see the neuroscientist again because I am experiencing different symptoms. Dave, let me come to you. Should the Dolphins shut him?
Terrifying thing about this is that we've already lived it once. We did it already. Like we did a whole segment about it where we, in the context of a TV show, argued about whether he should play a game after this happened against the Bills. And we even said after the fact, we probably didn't make a big enough deal out of it. I'm not a doctor. I don't know the symptoms. I don't know if he has a concussion. I remember how I felt that Thursday night when he went down in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And we were all talking about, like, oh, my God, like, is this guy's career over? Is he in serious danger? Like, this is terrible. And it's happening again. So and again, I can't speak for Tua, but like he clearly remembers that happening and probably doesn't ever want to go through it again, I would assume. And so how can you, with that still being fresh in your mind, like that was end of September or beginning of October, how could you in good conscience do this again? Like at the very least, he cannot play. He cannot play this weekend. I don't know how you do that.
No.
And then again, like even if you're talking about a wild card playoff game, that's only 2.5, 3 weeks away. He missed 3 weeks the last time this happened. Like, does any part of that seem smart to you? So at the bare minimum, I would not play him again in the regular season, and I think it would probably be advisable to say just call it a season altogether.
September 26th, we came on this show, and I was like, man, they won the battle, but I don't want them to lose the war.
Yeah.
Let's toss to it real quick. I got to get a couple things off my chest because while Tua won the battle, I want to make sure he wins the war. And it was, to me, confusing and to some degree disgusting to see Tua go back into the game after taking a blow that left him wobbling down the field. This is what I meant. September 26th, Bills game. Tua goes back into the game. They win the game. They definitely won the battle. It was a huge game. Buffalo Bills, Super Bowl favorites out of the AFC. Dolphins win that game, but it wasn't about the battle. For me, Joy, it was always about the war. It was always about the long-term war for Tua's health, the long-term war for Tua's career, the long-term war for Tua's longevity, both as a football player and Tua as a person. You can win the battle by playing him again, if you will, but I'm always thinking about the war, and it's not just about that one singular moment, but Tua hopefully can have a long career ahead of him. Joy, you said something as we prepared for this show. What kind of predicament do you think the Dolphins might be in light of where we are with head injuries, our lack of knowledge around head injuries, and now your star quarterback, who's supposed to be your franchise quarterback, now you are in a bind? What kind of predicament, both as a fan and as somebody who's covered the sport, do you think the Dolphins are now in?
Well, I think particularly this year with everything that happened with Mike McDaniel, with the ascension of Tua when he was playing well, and just the rebrand temporarily, obviously, of this organization, we saw the capability that Tua had, the heights that he could reach. And so as a fan, you know, you struggle with that because you want your team to win and you want the best players on the field. But we also always remember these are human beings. So we get a little lost in that, oh, this person gets traded or this person gets fired or this person sucks or whatever. Like, these are humans. And he's a long life, hopefully, after he's done playing.
That's right.
And he wants to live that life in fullness, enjoy the benefits that he received from being a professional athlete, like money and branding and being able to provide for his family, all those things. We know the seriousness of head injuries just as a society, particularly when it comes to the NFL. There's a long history of us ignoring the severity of it, CTE. We don't need to get into all the devastating things that have happened, but they're unspeakable. So I don't, you know, the business side of it is like, obviously, you know, they'll get to that when they get to it. But I think as a human person, like each team, you have connections with Philadelphia, right? You have connections with every team that you played with. You have connections with the Cowboys. I have connections with the Steelers, with the Dolphins. Like, they're part of the community. Like, the players that have played there, even if it goes badly, you still had an experience there. So you have a responsibility like as an organization, to put your players in the safest space. Forget like the PR part of it, which is obviously very real. You don't want that on your hands. You have to really sit down and evaluate, like, what is the possible benefit to the possible loss of putting somebody who has this many head injuries in such a short amount of time back on the field? I don't know how you do it this year. I think the outrage would be tremendous, honestly. I think it would be an immense amount of outrage if he played certainly this weekend and possibly even next weekend. But you have to have a real conversation about his future. And again, it's very sad. Like I wanted to see Tua have a long career. I hope he still does. I don't know how you can play with this level of anxiety for such a serious thing. They got elbow replacement surgery and knees and hips. You only get one brain.
Right. Well, a lot more where that was just discussed. Coming up, though, Justin Herbert, on a positive note, going to the playoffs for the first time, officially in the Chargers. J.J. Watt, he's posting a picture with his wife and newborn. Cole's first NFL game, my last ever NFL home game, subtly announcing that J.J. Watt, one of the great players of this generation, is retiring. My heart is filled with nothing but love and gratitude, he says. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure. Shady, what's your, greatest J.J. Watt memory on the field? Do you remember any particular moment?
You know what? I remember this. He had a couple of moments where he scored a lot of touchdowns, right? It was weird. He was
it 14?
Yeah. He scored 5 touchdowns.
And he was five.
He was getting he was nay-nay. He was getting, on offense, he was getting touchdowns on
like
defense.
taking selfies on the field.
That was pretty cool, though.
Oh, Dave, what do you make of it?
Man, I thought J.J. Watt had a case for MVP in 2014, man. Like 20 and a half sacks, 5 touchdowns, tackle for loss out the wazoo. And credit to him, by the way, J.J. Watt always breaks his own news. He announced he was going to the Cardinals. He managed to keep this from everybody. Like, he's like a news break. Like, he could have...
No, Dave, no, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you. Bad joke.
That's in poor taste. No, but congrats to him.
Joy, what'd you think when you saw the news?
I think he's had an amazing career. J.J. Watt's an unbelievable player, great memories. I'm happy that he's leaving on his own terms as well, which is always nice. I always think like whenever an all-time great retires, I always think about the conversation I had with my brother when he was retiring. I guess real emotional, and everybody reaches that point in a different way. So I'm glad he's leaving on his own terms. Very cute family, adorable baby. Happy for him.
It's easy to think of a guy like he's riding into the sunset, like he's not that good anymore. He's got 9.5 sacks. Like I didn't even realize he was having that good of a year.
I wish I should have known something because he was playing hard as heck.
He was balling out against the Buccaneers.
I was like,
Go against Brady, come here.
No, but now it was his last home game in his NFL career.
Oh, it makes sense.
I'm like, that's why he was splitting double teams, diving at angles. I was like, I was like, JJ, you doing too much. You're too over all that. Anyway, let's transition to a young buck, Justin Herbert. Great news last night. He didn't get it. He earned it. Going to the playoffs finally in his 3rd NFL season. Now, keep in mind, Justin Herbert, he's been very polarizing this year, in large part due to the 4 of us sitting at this desk. But let me start by saying congratulations to you, number 10. I see you in the playoffs. I am actually ecstatic that he's finally in for this reason. The knock I've always had on number 10 is this. He does not win enough to get this much praise. As many passing yards as he had, that is great. But nobody remembers passing yards. They remember wins. Dave Hellman, how many passing yards does Tom Brady have in his career?
Oh, God, a lot. I don't know.
Great. How many Super Bowls has Tom Brady been through?
10.
He's been to 10. You're exactly right. Dave Hellman, Tom Brady leads the National Football League in passing yards. How about Drew Brees? How many passing yards in his career?
It's like 49,000 or something?
Nope, you're dead wrong. Oof. But how many Super Bowls has Drew Brees been to?
1.
He's been to 1. I could do this all day, y'all. Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre. When you think about the top passing yard leaders, we don't know how many passing yards they freaking have, but we do remember how many Super Bowls they went to. Justin Herbert, he had all the yards in the world. I personally did not care. And you wouldn't care in about 20 years either. I was just a little futuristic with it. I don't care about the passing yards. I care about the games that matter, and Justin Herbert is in the games that matter. I cared about Justin Herbert being a winning quarterback, and now officially at 24 and 23, he is a winning quarterback. This accomplishment of making the playoffs, it's the biggest accomplishment of Justin Herbert's career. I don't care about Offensive Rookie of the Year. I don't care about throwing for 13,000 yards in 3 seasons. I don't care about all the touchdowns. Making the playoffs is the biggest accomplishment of number 10's career because making the playoffs is what it takes to win a Super Bowl. Making the playoffs is what it takes to have your name etched into history. That is what it takes, is winning football games and making it to the playoffs. So of all his accomplishments, which everybody else will applaud him for, this is the one I applaud him for. Dave, what is the significance of Herbert making the playoffs for the first time?
I felt a little sarcastic, like a little bit.
That was genuine. That was genuine.
No, it's as significant as his big arm, man. It's huge. And like, as much as I might disagree with you about how good of a quarterback Justin Herbert is, we can find common ground in the sense that he had to do this. He had to get to the playoffs in year 3. That's what this is all about. That's why you play the game. That's why you want to have be a quarterback and have the ball in your hand at the end of the game. And for him to be as talented as he is and get to year 4, year 5, year 6 before he makes it happen, nobody wants any piece of that. Because first of all, at the end of the day, it does say something about how good you actually are if you continue to fail to get your team to this stage. And on top of that, it becomes its own thing. It's like the Cowboys not getting back to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Like every year it compounds upon itself.